everybody, Caleb here in the Rosa String Workshop. Today we've got this Regal in, and it's in for a setup and a little bit of a cleanup. There are a couple cosmetic issues. You might be able to see one right off the bat. That pick guard has come off and all the glue and gunk is still on there. The other thing that's wrong with this is that peg head is broken. Now that is just the veneer, so that should be an easy enough fix. Between those and a setup, that's what this Regal's in here for. So I just got everything out of the headstock, the hard cover, all the ferrules, and I noticed the veneer is already lifting quite a bit. I'm not sure how much it's actually going to take. Let's see, there's a spot where it's relatively stuck. So I've got the heat gun. I think I'm actually just going to heat the tool and stick it in there, and that should loosen that glue right up. Now I do have to be a little careful. This veneer looks like it's plastic. So if I get this too hot, we could have a problem. Alright, so yeah, this is definitely plastic. I'm going to try to glue this together before we glue this back on. Try to fix this break as much as I can. We'll see how we can do. Now, if we look at the body of the guitar, I've got a moist towel sitting on where the pick guard was to hopefully try to lift some of this glue up or help it lift a little easier. So let's give her a try. And it's still a little solid. I prefer a little softer, so I'm going to re-wet my towel. What I'm going to do, I'm going to stick it on here, and I'll use the heat gun on a lower setting. And I'll push it over the moist area to hopefully help warm up that glue as well as soften it with the water. Well, I had a few interruptions, but I heated that pick guard area. You know, I got it some warm water, and then I started kind of rubbing it off, and it started coming off pretty good. And it could use a little bit more cleaning up, and then eventually probably some buffing. But you know, it's getting better. Now for the headstock, I scraped off some of the glue that was on here, and you know, I'm just taking the razor blade and scraping it. Trying to get it as clean as I can get it before I glue it back on there. And the big thing about putting it back on there is going to be getting even clamping pressure so it clamps flat rather than the weird bow that it was doing. Well, the frets on this Regal are really tall, but they're also really uneven. So I'm going to go ahead and level them now. I did just pull the clamps off of this peg head, but right now I'm going to try and level these frets.
Sure, you got your reasons. I know that I've got mine. But somehow all this leaving is weighing on my mind. Leaving is the only way. I know that it's true. But no matter
So I'm ready to start putting some of this back together, but these furls were pretty dirty. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean them up. I've got this brass brush. I'm kinda cleaning them up with that, and then some of the semi-chrome. Just giving it a good rub down. I'll show you the next one. Maybe you can see how dirty they are. You see those two next to each other. You see this is the one I cleaned and this is the next one to clean. They're pretty dirty, so you know, any little thing should help them look a little better. Well, I'm getting ready to stick this pick guard I got, this black one, on there. But what I'm going to do before I do that is I'm going to make sure this is clean. And I've got some denatured alcohol on this rag, and I'm going to just give it a good wipe down. Just make sure there's nothing in here that's going to impede the pick guard from sticking. I think that's good.
Love you. 'Cause how do you take a memory and put it away for good?
I'm going to attempt to string this thing up now. I think we're ready for it.
Oh, but the good Lord knows I should.
I have developed a problem. Bring the camera over. This tuner doesn't work. Which means I'm going to take it off. Oh, happy day. So I opened this tuner up, and what was wrong was this little black screw was loose, and then the gear was not fitting into the worm. I think that's right. So it was kind of floating up, so when I spun the peg, it didn't actually make contact with the gear to turn it. So anyways, I snugged up that screw. Now it makes contact, I think. Yeah, you can see it spins. It's kind of hard to hold and spin. So, should be good, and I can put it back together and we'll get it back on the guitar. Well, I got all the strings on it, so now I'm starting to tune it up. I'm not going to film too much of this. I just wanted to show you I got all the strings on and the tuners are working good. So I'm going to go ahead and get this tuned up, and then I'll bring you back and show you where we're at. So I've got it tuned all the way up, and it's kind of a bummer because it's so close to being alright. The action on the low E, it's about 110 thousandths, and it'd be real nice if it were 100 or less. And on the high E, we're sitting at about 95, and it'd be so much nicer if it was 90 or less. So we're almost on the edge of where I really want it to be, but that saddle's so low, I don't think we're gonna take it any lower.
You know, I think with a little bit of effort here, I think I can improve this action just a little bit more. It's probably still not going to get down as low as I would like it, but I think I can lower it another maybe 10 thousandths or so by just doing a few things up here. I'm fairly sure I can help it a little bit. In one way or another, maybe not so much even in the action, but I think it'll even sound better, maybe play a little better, just because I'm going to get a little bit more angle, I think, on the strings back here at the bridge. That's what I'm decided to do, because there's almost no angle on this at all. It comes across the bridge almost flat, and that's really never good. If you can make them break a little bit, that's always better. So what I did was I've already loosened these screws up to get the bridge as far down in there as it'll go, and I think maybe that was already done anyway. So I'm just snugging those back up so they don't make a noise, but they're as low as I can get them to go. And now I'm going to Dremel out a little slot here behind to get a little bit of a break angle, and I'm also going to cut some of the back edge of this saddle off, this metal saddle on the back edge, so that the string isn't riding on the metal saddle, which it basically is. But if we fix those couple of things, and it'll only take me a couple of minutes to do, I think it'll be just a little bit better. Well, you can see I took the saddle out of there, and I've got the, well, it's kind of like a double saddle. This adjustable saddle, and then our little bone saddle that's sitting in there. I'm going to go ahead and grind this down. I think I'm just going to lay it on the sander. Yeah, it's going to knock a little bit of that chrome off, but that chrome is not nearly as important as playability and sound. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay it on there flat and knock that down. And put a little more pressure on this side because this side's a little lower. And I'm not going to show that, but that's all I'm going to do is just lay it on the sander and let it knock some of that off. Okay, well, I don't know how much of this you can see well, but this saddle, this adjustable saddle, is now down in the slot, and it's actually slightly below the surface of the wood, and it's all the way down. Now, this particular saddle, the adjustments are only in this. In other words, they just ride down in a hole. In fact, I don't know how you would adjust this. I truly don't, because when you screw this down, it's not hitting on anything. Now maybe parts are missing, but these screws will just go straight down through those holes and they're not going to touch anything. They're not going to raise this up and down. So for my money, because these screws are doing absolutely nothing except rattling, I'm leaving them out. So what I'm going to do now, because we've got this lowered down some, I'm going to cut little grooves, from back here to this, and then the saddle now slightly rides above the metal. So now the strings can come right over the saddle and work. It was on the edge before. I mean, it was working, it wasn't causing a problem, but I figure if we just make it a little bit better, it'll maybe even help the action down here a hair. And I doubt it'll even change the action down here 10 thousandths. I thought it might, down here at the 12th fret, I thought it might change the action, but I don't think it will in the long run. But it will play a little better, will sound probably a little better, and it'll just be a little better job, in my opinion. So basically, we just got to cut these grooves, and we could do it with a file, but the file would take a while. I'm just going to get the Dremel out. I'm just kind of marking it with the file to get a straight edge, and I'm going to get the Dremel out and do it with the Dremel. This just gives me an eyeball reference of keeping it straight, because it's kind of hard to keep it straight with the Dremel, I got to be honest. So here we go. Well, that's, I think, all I'll need to do. I won't know until I put the strings back on it, to be honest. But the front edge of this might still be a little high, but this whole thing is cocked a little bit. We're trying to avoid doing a lot of work and a lot of expensive work, and on this guitar. It's not a high-end expensive guitar, and therefore, you try to do the thing you do the easiest, and that will be the most effective. And that's all I'm trying to do here. So if we put that in there now, I think the string will have a break angle, although I can't be sure. So let's test the one that's the worst. This is the worst one down here. And if it doesn't look like it's going to be any better, then we'll go further. Yeah, it's definitely not touching the metal at all now. I don't think it's sitting on the bridge either. It looks like it's sitting just on the saddle. And the saddle's got plenty of clearance in the front. No problem on the clearance on the front at all. I'd say that's an improvement over what we had. There is a brake angle there now. It's not a huge angle, but there's some, where before it was almost perfectly flat. So to me, that's a good thing. So let's go ahead and string it up and we'll see what it sounds like. Well, the fix kind of did help a little more than I even thought it was going to help. I was kind of on the edge of whether it would change the action at all. It did change the action a little bit. Not a significant amount, but enough. This, you can probably see there now that the metal there, or maybe you can even see that there is some break angle to the back of the strings, and that the metal is actually down below the wood. So the metal is not touching the string at all. The string is riding on the top of the saddle now, and then again there's clearance in the front. So that's perfect. The action here at the 12th fret now on the high side is actually very good. It's down to 80. You can't really ask for anything better than that. It's right on 80, maybe even a hair under that. You could almost make a case that it's about, yeah, right at 80. It's real close to 80. The bass side a little bit high still, but improved, and not much improved, but improved. It's between 100 and 105. So I think it was at 110. So there's 5 thousandths there or so, and quite a bit more on the treble side. So it's really just about as good as it can be set up now. It could be improved a hair more yet, but I think for the money we've spent and the time we've spent, I think we did exactly what it needed. I'm leaving out those 2 screws because those 2 screws are for absolutely no purpose whatsoever. I'm going to put the screws in the case. The customer can put them back in if he chooses to, but all they're going to do is create rattle. They serve no purpose functionally at this time. The only function they could serve at all would just be cosmetic to fill the holes. And if it were my 2 cents, I'd fill the holes with something else, just some sort of a little paste filler like JB Weld or something, and just clean it off real nice if it were me. But at this point, I'm just going to leave it like that. It plays and sounds nice. Here's what it sounds like. Yeah, it's real nice. There's really nothing wrong with it at all. For an inexpensive type guitar, it's actually got an amazingly good sound. Hope you enjoyed that little bit extra there. Thanks for watching.